Hiya, it's Izzy. Welcome to my channel Thoughts of a Hawk, where I have thoughts on just about everything. In today's video I'm going to be talking about my mid-year reads, which all happen to be fantasy reads. Fantasy and romance books are what I tend to lean towards. So these are very much books that feel like my comfort reads. I think I sort of discovered this year that I am a mood reader, so I tend to splurge through books that all have a similar feel to me. I was in the mood for a little bit of magic, a little bit of fairies, a little bit of Greek mythology. It was a very cozy, a very magical June. So the first book I'm going to be talking about is Psych and Eros. Eros. It's Greek. It's Greek.
Yeah, sorry, everyone, this is Ian.
This is the first Greek retelling that I think I've ever read. I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I didn't rate it a 5 because I normally say 5 stars for something that I feel very strongly about and I feel like I could talk someone's ear off about. So Lynette McNamara is a Boston writer who got a master from Harvard, and she studied ancient Greek language and philosophy. So it is basically about Psych and Eros. Eros is the god of desire, and shit, I don't know if that's how you say her name. Wait, I don't know if it's Psych or Psyche. Shit. In my head, as I was reading it, I pronounced Psych, because it's like psych, like psychology. So I was thinking, okay, Psych. She is a princess of an ancient Greek society, but she is training herself to become a warrior, and she feels, and it says it at the start of the book, so this isn't a spoiler, but she is destined, she was prophesied to become a hero and a warrior, and someone that all the gods feared. And Eros is the Greek god of desire, and he is one of the first gods that came about when everything was created. The earth, the sky, the land, everything at the beginning, basically. So you could sort of think of Eros as this Cupid-like god who has these arrows, these love arrows, because he's the god of desire, and he wants to use these arrows for good. He wants to spread love, you know, peace, love and happiness, but they don't always end with the best circumstances. Aphrodite is jealous of Psyche's beauty, so she sends Eros, her adopted son, with a love curse to her in one of his arrows, and she wants to basically kill her because, you know, gods are going around killing humans. They really don't care in this book, and I'm pretty sure they don't in most Greek mythology. This definitely is first and foremost a romance story. It does say in the blurb that it does include a little bit of the Trojan War, but it is mentioned sort of in passing, but it isn't the main plot of the story. I think I got this book from a giveaway from Hatchet, so I was very excited to get this book, because if you know me, if I get book mail, I am the most giddy, happiest person in the world. That will literally make my day. My favorite mail is book mail. So, and with the giveaway, I also got this cute little bookmark of Eros and Psyche. And Eros is about to shoot Psyche with the love-cursed arrow given to him by Aphrodite. But I thought this was the cutest thing. I feel like this explained all the Greek mythology and the Greek gods very well. It was very easy to keep up with all the new names and all the new gods that came in through the book, because there are a lot. I feel like you can't throw something without hitting a god in this book. There is quite literally gods everywhere. There were some bits in this story that didn't really hit it for me, but on a whole, I really did love this book. I found sort of in certain plot points, it was a bit convenient that one detail was forgotten which led to a certain event. I don't want to give too much details because I want people to experience this without as much background knowledge as you can. That's why I enjoyed this story so much. At one point, Eros forgets something which leads to an unpleasant outcome for Psyche. That all could have been avoided if he just remembered to do one thing. And I feel like him as a god who has existed for as long as he has and knows how the temperaments of other gods and all that stuff, I feel like he would have been likely to remember it. So, but that is the only thing that lost it a star. Other than that, there were so many points in the story where I was reading this just at night in my bed, just looking, reading, and then just like completely slapped in the face. Thing that came out of nowhere, or little bits where I just did not see that happening. And granted, I am a very gullible person and I do not see a lot coming at me, but I really enjoyed those parts of the book. There are parts of the book that I love that sort of look at the Greek myths and the legends and all those life lessons that are sort of sprinkled through, and they make them very aware. On page 248, she says, "I thought of my naivete upon hearing the tales of the blind poet all those years ago, when I thought a glorious kill was what made a hero. I saw now that the legends were drenched in blood, the blood of women." So even with some of the plot points feeling a bit too convenient for me, I still really loved this book. And it has encouraged me to look into more Greek mythology retellings because I really did love the characters and the magic and all the gods, and I really loved this different kind of fantasy. I definitely would reread this again. Okay, so the next book is, I would say, one of my favorite books of the year and possibly I've ever read. So that's a big call to make, I know, but I really loved this book with all my heart. The next book is Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries by Heather Fawcett. Oh my god, and that cover, I swear, what I fell in love with first was the cover. I've got to say, I do buy books majority. Probably 50% of the reason why I buy certain books is because of the cover. I really love this cover. And, well, and the story as well. It is mainly a fantasy book, but it has a subplot of romance in it. I really did love this book with all my heart, all my hippie heart. I think it took me 2 or 3 days to read. It's 315 pages. It feels like it's talking directly to little Izzy, who loved running around in my backyard, and I was looking for fairies and weeds and like trunks of trees and the leaves, making little flower crowns and little flower, making little flower circles that would supposedly attract fairies, which sounds, saying out loud, very witch-like and very voodoo. So I sort of know where all that comes from now for me. And the fairies in this book feel very connected to the fairies I knew personally, obviously, but it feels very connected to the fairies I know when I was little, like I don't know if you guys remember the Rainbow Fairy books. This book feels very much like that, sort of running around looking within nature trying to find fairies. Emily Wilde is an academic from London, and she is going to an Icelandic village to try and research these unknown fairies for her encyclopedia. A couple of weeks after she first gets there, her academic rival, Wendell Bamblebee, I know, arrives, and she thinks he's there to try and steal or try and charm his way into getting credited for her research.
Who are you?
Iris, open the door or I swear I'm going to take a leak all over your front.
Okay, Wendell, first of all, when I started reading it, I forgot to reread the blurb. So Wendell, when he first showed up, I thought he was an old man, because Wendell Bamblebee sounds like an old man's name. But yes, he's not old. He is like the same age as Emily. I think mid to late 20s.
I'm sorry for my profanity. I wasn't expecting you.
Well, I wasn't expecting you either.
Emily and Wendell as characters are very different. Emily is very academic minded, very socially awkward, which I love because that is so relatable, because you can't be articulate with everybody and you can't be... If charm was personified, it would be Wendell, because he is so easygoing, so friendly, so experienced with interacting with all the Icelandic villagers once he gets there, and he knows the right things to say, he knows how to get in everyone's good graces. And then Emily is just the complete opposite of that, which I love. I love that dynamic between them. He could charm his way into anything. It feels very much like sort of Emily is like a Sherlock fairy investigator, and then Wendell is this Watson who just knows how to word everything. I think Emily's demeanor and interactions and her social awkwardness does develop, and her character development towards the end is really what warms my heart and makes me feel so happy for her as a protagonist and as a main character. There are different kinds of fairies that she looks at. There are the smaller sort of pixies that you can think of, sort of like Tinkerbell, and then there are the human-sized fairies who are a little bit harder to interact with, and Emily sort of has to be more cautious around them because they tend to hold grudges, tend to be a bit more hostile with humans. There is a specific way to interact with the fairies in this sort of universe. They are very they're sort of like Rumpelstiltskin, that you sort of need to give and take equally. There can't be an imbalance of power in between a human and a fairy. No one owes each other anything, so Emily knows how to interact and how to sort of weave her way through these interactions with the fairies. All the fairies feel very connected to their nature and to their environments, and their appearances, their demeanor, their lifestyles. There are sort of wintry fairies who appear to be icicles and very transparent and are very cold in nature in their demeanors. And then there are also very spring, autumn-like fairies who are very connected to the trees, to the earth, to different things, and it shows in their appearance as well. And it also, I think, is a very ideal cozy winter read because of the Icelandic landscape. They are going straight into winter, so it is very cold there, and it's so nice when she's back in her cabin with no electricity and a fireplace and just sitting and her doing her work. It feels very cozy to read with a blanket, with my hoodie, with a hot chocolate, and just sit in this little world of fairies and magic. I feel like there are a couple of quotes that encapsulate this book really well. Majority of this book is from Emily Wilde's perspective, so when I saw a chapter from Wendell's perspective, I just flipped my lid. So Wendell says, "I say half because I was mostly just watching you, observing the way your mind clicks and whirs like some fantastical clock. Truly, I have never met anyone with a better understanding of our nature, and that anyone includes the folk. I suppose that's partly why, but you would really kill me if I desecrated your scientific vessel with the end of that sentence." Oh my god. Oh my god. Another part of the book, there is something that Wendell says to Emily that is the most heartwarming thing that I think anyone could possibly hear. Okay, so this is from Emily's perspective. "After a while though, I felt an unexpected guilt. 'You don't have to stay with me,' I said. 'You can go down to the tavern and regale the villagers with the tale of our success.' 'Why would I do that? I prefer your company, Em.' He said it as if it was obvious. I snorted again, assuming he was teasing me. 'Over the company of a tavern filled with a rapt and grateful audience? I'm sure you do. Over anyone else's company?' Again he said it with some amusement, as if wondering what I was doing, speculating about something so evident." Oh my god, close the book. I don't need to read anymore because that sold my soul to the devil. The hear that someone prefers only your company over everyone else's is just the best romantic trope that I could ever read in any any book ever. And this isn't even a romance book. This is a fantasy book with an understory, an underplot of romance. And moments like that is what grips my heart to this book. Going into this book, I thought it was a standalone book. I didn't realize it was a part of a series that is yet to come. The sequel is yet to come out. I am the kind of reader who likes to start reading a series knowing that the rest of the books are easy to just buy from a bookstore straight away. Like, I don't need to wait for it to be published in 6 months to a year. So when I finished this and I got to the end and it said, the story of Emily Wilde and Wendell Bamblebee will continue in book 2. My heart dropped. I was like, that isn't the end of the story. I am probably the most impatient reader. So when I found out this was a part of a series that isn't fully out yet, my heart, I couldn't, you have no idea. And I can't wait until January 2024 for the sequel of this. And I think it is a 3-book series, so I can't wait for it to come out so I can actually read the rest of this story, because I love Emily and Wendell's dynamic and I can't wait to be re-immersed into this world again. I feel like I've never had a definite favorite book and nothing's really come to mind until this book. Cozy, winter, fairy, magical vibes are your thing. This is definitely a book that you should read. Last books that I'm going to be talking about for my mid-year reads is a series, and it's the Whisper series by Lynette Noni, which is Whisper and Weapon. And after the height of Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries, I feel like I was sort of expecting to be disappointed because I was so happy about that book. But oh my god, I loved this series. I can't tell you how much I love this series. I rated this series, both of these books, 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really loved this series. Even though this is a YA series, I tend to be discouraged by YA series because I think, is it a bit too childish or a bit too immature or just not engaging enough for me as a 21-year-old? Yes, I know, I'm 21 years old. There are so many things that I loved about this series. Lynette Noni is actually an Australian writer. I didn't know that when I read this for the first time. I read this for the second time in June this year, but I don't remember when I read it the first time. I didn't realise that this was set in Sydney. She does mention it. It isn't like, oh my god, this is in your face. P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. Like, this is in your face, Sydney.
P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. P. Sherman, 42.
But she does mention places in Sydney, like she does mention why have I forgotten all the Sydney locations now? She does mention Luna Park and the zoo in Sydney and obviously the Opera House, but she doesn't make it in your face. She doesn't shove Sydney in your face, but it does feel nice to sort of know the setting instead of being an Australian reading some American setting and it feeling like a completely foreign place. And there is a lot about this series that I really wish I could talk about, but I think it is best to go into this series as blind as you can go. There is so much I want to say about a lot of the characters, about their interactions, about things that just make me want to scream after I read them, but I think it is really best if you just go in don't research anything. I don't think it is spoiling it to say that there are a lot of twists in these books and a lot of things that you wouldn't expect. As I said before, I am very gullible, so I don't see a lot of plot twists coming, so everything is a twist to me, but it just felt so much like just, like slap in the face, boom, different, boom, like it feels very unexpected when it happens. But basically, the first book is about a girl, Jane Doe. You don't know her name until... Okay. Okay.
I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that. I shouldn't have said that.
So the first book is about a girl who is sent to an institution in Sydney, and all she knows is this routine that she's been stuck in for 2 years. All the people in the institution at Lengard are trying to get her to speak, but the audience and the people there don't know why she isn't speaking, until she is met with a new instructor who is showing her this new sense of kindness that she hasn't been shown in 2 years. I think there is a really good quote that helps to show you how the main character is in this first book. I am nothing more than a glass pawn in a black and white chess set, out of place and utterly breakable. That sentence is just so heartbreaking, but I feel like it really shows you how she feels being trapped in this place and not being able to say a word. I would say in the first book that the character is very timid and unsure of herself and still trying to navigate herself. And in the second book of the series, it's basically her discovering what happened the day that she was sent to Lengard and what happened to her family. There is not much other context that I can give, but what I can say is how this series really made me feel. It made me feel like I was watching something instead of reading it, which is the best feeling that it can get, that a book can give you. When you're just so engaged with what's happening and you just, when I read, I'm one of those readers that has a mental picture and I can feel like I can imagine everything that's happening. And so when you're reading and you're not looking at how many pages you've read or how much you have to go or how much until the chapter ends, and you're just reading it and you're just completely engrossed with the story, those are the best kinds of books. Okay, I don't think I could say a quote from this book without spoiling basically what happens in this and the other books, so you're just gonna have to trust me. You're just gonna have to trust my word. They aren't the magic kind of books like the past two that I've mentioned. I think they are more science fiction than fantasy. These are very much about the main protagonist, but there is some elements. I think there would be less romance than Emily Wilde, because in this book there are potential love interests, but it's not really about that. It's mainly about her trying to learn and discover things about herself and about what has happened to her. Please put these in your TBR. Please put these in your to be read pile. These are amazing. I love them with my whole heart, and please just trust me and please give these books a chance, because I think this is a really great story, especially for people who really love writing, reading, just like the power that words can have. So those are my mid-year reads. Comment below your thoughts on my book recommendations for this video, and if you have any other book recommendations that are fantasy, cozy, witchy, romance, or any magical vibes, I would love to see them. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya! McNamara. Luna McNamara. Hakuna Matata. Oh my god, I'm sorry, this is someone's name. But, bro, that is a mouthful. Luna McNamara. Luna? No, I still said it wrong. Luna McNamara. I said it. Thank you and good night.